It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for March 31st, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, E3 is dead. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jesse Don Cabeza Norris. Jesse, how are you doing?
I'm very sad because we were planning to go to E3.
Yeah, so, we'll get into it. But, I mean, did you guys already start making plans to travel and stuff?
We had looked everything up. We were just about to book, and then the Ubisoft pulling out news hit, and we're like, Jesus Christ, there's like...
Gotta wait.
Unless Xbox Showcase is there, they're doing something in person, like for us as an Xbox-focused site. Like, what is there to do? And we're looking at Nick coming from Australia, which is like $3 or $4 grand. So it's we had to book early, and we were just about to. Like, our plans were to book on Monday, and then everything started going down on Monday. I'm like, thank God we hadn't booked anything yet. Yeah,
it's pretty confusing. Like I said, we'll talk about it, but it's like, trying to figure out like what that coverage looks like, what anything looks like over there. I mean, the real answer is not many people know. The people that would maybe give you those answers, they don't really know what they want it to look like. So it's still going to be kind of a confusing mess here for a little bit. But other than that,
Xbox gets into their plan soon, because other than that, doing real good. I think I did like 6 reviews this week. I didn't mean to.
It's too many.
But
it's too many, Jesse.
I had literally 4 embargoes on Wednesday. They were all just embargoed the same day.
It's too many.
Like, I need these companies to talk to each other and be like, hey, our games aren't all coming out that same day. Let's spread these out a little bit, eh? But they never do that. So you never know.
They never do. Yeah, it's a busy week then for you, huh? How do you even do 6 reviews in a week? I've never done that in my life.
I had one game for a month. I had one game for 2 weeks. I had one game I had one game for 5 hours. I had another game for 5 hours. I had another game for 5 hours. Look, I'm not saying it's a healthy lifestyle, and I'm the one choosing to do it. So if anyone's upset, just look at me and yell at me about me.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's also a true mess, but you gotta, listen, I get it. You gotta work. You gotta do the stuff. You gotta do what's in front of you.
Infinite Guitars hit Game Pass yesterday, and they sent a code yesterday when it came out. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, crap, I completely forgot about that one. We would have covered it otherwise. Nobody had. I guess they didn't actually send out codes to anyone. So at that point, I'm just like, you know what? Fine.
Yeah. Get
Our thing's focusing on Xbox. Everything Game Pass is big for us, so I'll just play it tonight and see if I can do a review.
Well, definitely let's point everybody, those reviews are up on Xbox Era now, right? So people can go read them. But of those games, which ones would you recommend to people?
Well, Lunark is really cool if you're in the mood for a flashback style game. Prince of Persia, like that cinematic platformer.
Sure, yeah.
So it is very low polygon, like really low pixel count look, but I still think in the end, the art style and everything come together and look real good. And unlike almost every other game in that genre, it actually controls really well. You've got to get the deliberate timing of it down,
right?
But it still feels like those things where you take a step, you've got your animation, but the animation
completes the little leap, yeah.
But the animation is just short enough where it doesn't get in the way, unlike the other ones where it's super long. Infinite Guitars. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it always took me a while to get used to that first Prince of Persia with the rotoscoped animation and stuff. But once I did, there was something really satisfying about getting in tune with its delayed reaction syndrome. I liked it.
It's so different than especially what we're used to now. Like Dead Cells or a bunch of other things that are just super twitch. It's like you can't play this one twitch, because if you do, then it will feel bad. But the moment you get that timing down, it actually feels pretty darn good.
Well, that sounds promising. I'm gonna look into some of these. Although my plate is full. I mean, with Resident Evil 4 alone, I'm still like got a full plate. So
yeah, you've sent people over there twice while I've been streaming it, and I've done like 6 streams now, and I'm still not even in the last area. It's a meaty game that also is like, hey, you should really keep playing me over and over again, because you're gonna get a bunch of cool shit if you do New Game Plus.
Yeah, I could spend a lot of time on Resident Evil 4, and I will. That's the plan. All right, let's get into it. Before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with E3 2023 has been canceled. This comes from Jenny Zhang at GameSpot. E3 2023 has been canceled. An official statement by the ESA and ReedPop confirms the event had been scheduled to take place June 13th through the 16th in Los Angeles. They have a quote: "This was a difficult decision because of all the effort we and our partners have put toward making this event happen, but we had to do what's right for the industry and what's right for E3," said ReedPop's Kyle Marsden-Kish in a statement shared with GameSpot. "We appreciate and understand that interested companies wouldn't have playable demos ready and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. For those who did commit to E3 2023, we're sorry we can't put on the showcase you deserve and that you've come to expect from ReedPop's event experiences." I mean, there's more to this. I mean, the big thing here is, like, we've had reporting for the last couple of weeks and the stuff that I've heard and others have heard. There was a lot out there that basically the show was coming together. It looked good. It all just happened too late. And then, and so there was a lot of questions asked at a time when normally there would have been answers. The companies were kind of getting stonewalled instead because ReedPop was like, "We'll get back to you." And I think ReedPop was maybe used to operating that way because with its other stuff, they sort of happened on their own timeline, a different timeline than what E3 happened, what E3 would happen on. And so I think just the things got misaligned there, and then that sort of spiraled, and it snowballed. And then suddenly they're looking around, and these companies are like, "Actually, we don't care about what the answers are anymore because we've already decided we can't do this." And so just that miscommunication and lack of communication doomed E3 quite a bit ago. And so here we are. It's dead. It seems like it's probably going to be dead, at least for a while now. If it comes back, it'll be resurrected in some other form a couple years from now, I think. But I don't know. What do you think?
I have the vain hope that maybe they can circle their wagons and have something. Like, if it was looking good and what people wanted, then with proper timing, with proper knowledge of how to do it, and with the realization that, hey, these companies are actually way bigger than a lot of the ones you normally work with, and they're just going to tell you to go stuff it if you don't do well, that they could take a year, they could take 2 years, they could really figure it out, plan it out, and have it ready to go at some point. But I mean, who knows? And that's the sad thing, because that was the nice thing about E3 for us from the outside as fans, is we got this week with just a ridiculous amount of news, gaming Christmas, all this stuff. The industry side being everyone's in the same place. They get to network. They get it's a trade show. They get to do all these things, pitch their games, see all these people. Like, I think there's still value in that. I don't know that companies need it became that focused on the live streams so much. And I think companies realize, well, we can just do those whenever we want, and they'll do really well. And we can work with Jeff Keighley on his Summer Game Fest stuff, which is not a replacement, because it's this disparate mix of live streams and his own live stream. And it just ends up being something very different than what I loved about E3 of it all. It's 1 week, everyone's there. Yep. You just see tons of shit that you hadn't seen before. And having Sony go in September, Nintendo go whenever they feel like, an Xbox being the only one that stays there as a platform holder, and even they went to July 1 year. It's like, it's not bad. It's nice that we still get all these things, and especially during COVID, when it was really hard to actually schedule any of it, and you can understand why there's no in-person stuff. I was very much looking forward to that one main week again, even if, like, Sony was going to be their own thing probably before it this year. So I'm very sad, and I hope it comes back, but I don't expect it to come back.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect at all, other than I'm pretty pessimistic about it going forward. In terms of, like, there is no E3 next year. That seems likely. What does that look like? I think Keighley continues to consolidate stuff a little bit more here and there. But I think it mostly looks like what it's going to look like this year. Keighley has his day. He has his showcase. That's what Summer Game Fest is. It's a showcase, and then the Summer Game Days, which are the 2 days after the thing, where people from the industry come and they play games that were mostly at the show. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That is, there's a lot of events kind of in the similar to that scale. Day of the Devs from what's the name of the studio?
Double Fine.
Double Fine, thank you. Double Fine's Day of the Devs. It's kind of similar to that. Everyone come play a bunch of games at a thing, and that's cool. It's just I don't know how that would ever fit in. Obviously I don't think it's gonna fit in the big three ever. but does it even fit in like a Ubisoft? I mean, I know he said like Ubisoft is part of Summer Game Fest, but he did it in the same way he's always done, where it's like, hey, so Ubisoft announced Ubisoft Forward, and then Jeff Keighley retweeted and said, this is part of Summer Game Fest. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's also part of Jeff Grubb's Summer Game Fest too.
Yeah.
Don't tell them that.
The difference is they'll throw the occasional little Summer Game Fest logo in the bottom right corner, and that's about it. Because wasn't that the Xbox One was both a part of Digital E3 and Summer Game Fest?
I think so.
It's like,
yeah, but what is it, right? What really when you get down to it, what does it mean? Nothing really. So, I think ideally what everyone wants is what you were saying, and what we talked about a bunch before. Everyone wants this stuff to happen in a relatively quick time frame. People want to pay attention really hard for a short period of time. You know, in the past, it was those 3, 4, maybe 5 days where there's going to be something, a thing after thing. And usually if you were just there for those 3 days where it was, you knew you were going to get a bunch of third-party publishers, and you were going to get Xbox, and then you were going to get Sony and Nintendo all happening back to back to back. It's like, okay, well, if I pay attention then, if I take some time off work, or if I, make sure that I can like sneak away during work and watch that stuff, I'm going to get my time's worth out of that. This is going to be worth it because it'll be fun, and I can be part of the zeitgeist and know what's going on. This is what makes it the mess is like, well, we don't really know what it's going to look like for most of these companies. Right now, and I've said this a couple times now, but in terms of the timeline, it is Sony PlayStation Showcase, a big one, sometime before what would have been this E3 timeframe. Does that mean May? I don't know, but sometime before that E3 timeframe. And then we have Summer Game Fest on that Thursday, and then there's the game days. Yes, and those game days are like Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday's Xbox and Starfield and Bethesda and all that, and then Monday is Ubisoft, and that's what we know so far. We do know that Tencent and Sega wanted to be at E3. We know that Konami wanted to be at E3 based on rumors. So do those companies find other places? Do they go to Microsoft now? Who has something right there? Maybe. Do they try to do their own thing? Do they just go to Jeff Keighley? That's what we're waiting to find out. And I guess we probably find that out in the next couple weeks. But for now, I mean, what do you think? Where do you think these companies retreat to?
If they haven't already done their own live streams, I think it's tough to just spin one up, especially at this magnitude in a couple months. So pretty much if they're willing to pay, they go to Jeff. Depending on how Microsoft does it, they go to Xbox. If they were with Sony, they were already with them like that. I don't think that nothing changes for that here. So, man, I don't know. There's so many. Say hi. There's
Hi, kiddo.
I love the hat. There's so many companies out there. There's so many different like community streams and things that they do, but it's not this level. So if they want to get something big and they want to get it out in front, it's gonna have to be, they're already working with Sony. We can come to Xbox, but they've probably planned all their stuff out. And I mean, even at this point, they can go to Jeff, but how much does he have planned?
Right.
So, I don't know. It seems real rough.
Right. How much can he accommodate even? I think, listen, if you have a cool game announcement, he'll probably be down for that. And if you have like 1 or 2 games to announce, I mean, Konami, let's say they have the Metal Gear Solid 3 thing.
I think he'd make space for that.
He'll make space for that. It also makes sense for that, right? That's something that fits in really well. Like the Tencent stuff. I mean, not that like many people are watching or listening to this would care for the most part about what Tencent's working on. Occasionally it crossed over and there's some cool stuff there, but whatever. They wanted to announce, they wanted to have a presence at E3. They're probably like trying to make deals happen. Where do they go? They're out of luck, And okay, so if they had game announcements, I guess they could go to Jeff Keighley, but depending on what those games look like, they're probably gonna have to pay, and then fine, whatever Tencent can afford it, they can pay. But it is like different game to game, and it's not just some easy solution that everyone can be like, they're picking off a menu of like, well, where can I take my announcement? And this looks good, this looks good. It's like, no, it's gonna take a lot of work, and they're scrambling now because I mean, I'll look at the calendar. How many weeks away are we really from when this was going to happen? It is not that many. Like we are rapidly approaching, which is why you guys were booking your travel. We were going to have meetings about that real soon. So yeah, it's pretty wild. We still want to go to like Summer Game Fest at least. We still have to have these conversations, but we still want to like have a presence there and do some stuff. So that's our plan. Also, kind of want to do like the moratorium or the postmortem on E3 and kind of look around and be like, what was this? What was it all for? That sort of thing.
I think we want to at least have 1 or 2 of us go, like maybe myself and John. Not going to spend $4,000 for Nick to fly from Australia. Especially if we could get in contact with Summer Game Fest and actually get in on that stuff, it still might be worth it in that end. And if Xbox is doing their thing, then it makes sense for us to be there. But yeah, it's not the same hype level when E3 is back, and you're kind of curious just what the hell that means. So,
right.
But there still might be something.
Yeah, and I think Jan in chat points out like this. Does this leave a bad taste in publishers' mouths with ReedPop? I think absolutely. I think that's the big reason why E3 probably can't return next year. It's because they've those relationships have seemed to have been broken off here at this point, and it's not going to be easy to put them back together. So I don't think ReedPop, even wants to try. And then, other people in the Twitch chat are pointing out, rightfully, that like while these big companies and ReedPop and the ESA are sort of squabbling and sort of scrambling, there is a whole tier of smaller developers and smaller publishers beneath this that could never afford their sort of own time frame inside of the news coverage cycle. And so they were trying to like just get the E3, get in front of some media people, get in front of some influencers. And at E3, they could make it make sense. And so there's a lot of smaller developers who are going to be left out in the cold on this stuff. A lot of those developers that would have been like, listen, we're not going to get a booth at E3, but we can set up some meetings at E3. We can get a hotel room, and we can get we can use the conference rooms at the hotel room, something that happened all the time. Invite Jeff Grubb to come see some stuff, and like, here's 6 games really quick. That's an efficient use of their time and my time. What are they going to go to Jeff Keighley? And Jeff Keighley's going to be like, yeah, cool, $100,000, please. That's okay, maybe.
Yeah.
That does make sense for a lot of games. That makes sense. It's a good use of some money, because it's like it is going to get you in front of a lot of people, but it's not an easy decision. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, especially when like you're already at a point where in-game dev, you're not making any money generally until you've actually released. So just the thought of spending more and more on what is essentially marketing, because this is just to get out in front of people. It's not even to meet industry people to try and get deals or it sucks. That was one of the big things for E3 was that indie networking that people could do. They could go there, they could market their smaller game to the companies to try and get publishing deals and do all these different things. And there is no replacement for that, even if no matter where they go now.
Yep. And it's like Jan also is like, I would love to for us to do like an indie show where we just like talk to a bunch of indies. Kind of funny, does that kind of stuff, and I bless them for it. But it's not like it's not like that is some core thing to their business. It's like they're kind of just doing it because they really want to do it. And most of the time it comes and it goes. And I think that they do a great job on it. But it's not something that like draws millions of eyeballs because people, again, are mostly tuned out until E3 is here. That is the value of E3. People are like, no, I am going to tune in now, and I will watch some of these other shows because I'm already excited. I'm ready to go. People are in that mindset. It's hard to sort of get people into that mindset outside of that. Now, I guess the question will be like, without the E3 name, will people still be like, well, it's E3 time, Summer Game Fest E3, what's the difference? I'll get in that time frame or in that mind frame then anyhow. Probably, right?
He hasn't had a tight schedule for the most part. So and it is weird because E3 was this big nebulous bureaucracy essentially of all these, different lobbying bodies for video games, where Summer Game Fest is run and the face of it is one person. And so it ends up it feels different. It doesn't feel like this big industry thing. It feels like this big Jeff thing. So I don't know. Like if he can somehow work with the big companies and wrangle it back into, at the very least, we get a bunch of news in a single week. But that's a big ask because they like working with him. He gets a ton of eyeballs on their stuff, but it's not the same. It's like it is a different thing. And the Game Awards is still like the big one for that ridiculous viewer count. Yep,
exactly. I think Jeff Keighley's going to keep doing things his way, and that's not going to be a good fit for everybody. But we'll see what this year looks like. I will promise I'll do my best to keep Jeff Grubb's Game Mess updated. I'll put out a post here pretty soon with the dates that I have. But yeah,
I got to look at the calendar. When is the Grubbsmith Specialtacular?
Yeah, the Grubbsmith Specialtacular, which is always the closer there
Christmas
at the end of the year.
Christmas is a Monday.
Okay.
So we'd be looking at the 30th, a Saturday.
Okay.
The day, technically not New Year's. I think that works.
That works fantastic. Excellent.
Yes.
Let Nick know. All right, cool. All right, let's move on. The Diablo 4 Xbox Series X bundle should have been much cooler. This comes from Cameron Faulkner at Polygon. Microsoft just announced an Xbox Series X bundle that should be way more appealing than it actually is. It's bundling the high-end console with Blizzard's Diablo 4, and the bundle will ship on June 6th, which is the game's launch day, for $560. Pre-orders are now open at Microsoft stores. The most appealing part of the package is that it's $10 cheaper than buying the console and game separately, but that's pretty much it. Aside from getting some in-game cosmetics, the incentive to buy this bundle is sadly very low. One would assume that Microsoft might try a little harder to impress people with, say, a custom-designed Xbox a la Nintendo's new Tears of the Kingdom-inspired OLED Switch. I've seen a lot of this going around, Jesse. I agree with this in theory, because it's like, sure, it's nice to get those custom consoles, and custom consoles are cool. We got used to getting quite a few of them throughout the previous generations. I think there's probably reasons why we haven't seen them, but those reasons are almost certainly, and I've seen them from either Xbox or PlayStation 5 so far. But I think those reasons are almost certainly kind of boring to us and not really don't mean much to us, because it's like, oh, it's kind of hard to do that right now when we're just trying to meet demand with the supply that we have. And so taking away any supply to go, put an extra coat of paint on it, it's okay. Well, I don't care. I don't care. That's too bad. I still want a cool thing. But at the same time, I would rather they have as much supply out there as possible than have a cool Diablo 4 Xbox Series X. But in a perfect world, of course, I would want them to have a cooler Xbox. How are you feeling about this? Is this kind of people getting up in arms over nothing?
It's starting to feel like if you're going to get a custom console, it's generally just going to be a first-party thing, and this still isn't technically first-party.
Yes, definitely not.
And with the Switches, you get a ton of them. You don't get the game, funnily enough, but you get a ton of the custom consoles because they just have, they're a well-oiled machine. They're pumping them out nonstop.
Yep.
Like what the God of War Ragnarok bundle, the Horizon Forbidden West bundle, they're just the game, right? Inside a regular box.
That is correct. Yes.
Like it's just I think Diablo could have lent itself to a really cool looking system. I have mine skinned. It kind of looks all right. Yeah, it would be really nice. I don't think we're going to see it much from third party. I really don't think that we will see one on Xbox unless Starfield gets one. That's the only one I think coming up soon. Because I've been trying to find it. There was a story last year, starting in June. They were focusing on allocating chip priority for the series chips to the cloud for 1 year, and then like everything. Then after June, then they're back to going full bore. And I thought it's actually kind of funny because it'll make them look weak, and that's kind of what they've been trying to do with the whole ABK deal to get it passed, is look as weak as they can no matter what.
Weird coincidence there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then Starfield's coming in September, a few months after they've got all their allocation back. Could that be a time we do get a cool custom console? Because that color scheme and like it's literally a black box that lends itself very well to looking cool. Like they did one for Halo that looked awesome, and I tried real hard to get one for my wife, but I couldn't because God hates me.
Of course.
So yes,
as he does all.
I don't think this is a big deal for the simple fact that we haven't seen it for a third party game this generation. I wish we did. I think on our end, I get people being like, man, I like cool custom consoles, even if I already have one and I don't actually need another one. Damn, it looks cool. I'd buy it anyways and sell my old one.
Yep. I don't upgrade my home consoles all that frequently. I'm just in a sort of mood where I get it, and I see that one looks pretty cool. Yeah, that's Spider-Man PS4. That does look very neat. Maybe I'll get it, and it's like, it's a lot of money. We
got the Gears 5 1X because when it was time to
deliver my sandwich over here. All right.
Aw. Get him started young. Get him used to helping.
Yeah, she's on sheets right now. Don't worry. That was the secret to keeping her calm during the show.
One of the times we did it is when we were upgrading. I got my wife the Gears 5 1X. It had like the cracked ice look on top of it. That was cool.
Yeah, I did like the look of that one a lot.
And it made the noise. Like I like it when they make the different startup noise when they are the custom console too. You don't always get that.
Yeah. That the one I really want is the Taco Bell one, the Taco Bell Xbox that has the gong when you turn it on. That's incredible.
Dan still have his?
I think yes. I think so. Yes.
And he got his Popeyes on it.
Yeah,
Everyone just sends him the cool Bojangles.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh God, they're gonna kill me. You see, you got to be the bigger influencer. Influencers and creators get so much more cool stuff than press.
Right, and he also just asks too, and they're like, yeah, sure. Oh man, I should try just asking sometimes.
You know what I just asked? I asked about this $1,700 chair that I've been sitting in the whole time. They just sent me one to review it.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
exactly.
ask. Just
ask.
Yeah.
Lucius Augustus in Twitch chat said, "Didn't Jeff Grubb just buy the Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED?" And that's why I said home console. Whenever it was, I bought like 5 or 6 different DSs and 5 or 6 different 3DSs. Handhelds in my brain for some reason. I'm like, well, listen, I'm carrying it with me all the time. It's got its own screen. Every once in a while, they get scuffed up just enough. And look at that cool new design. I can talk myself into upgrading something I'm carrying with me very easily. That happened constantly.
You're gonna get one of those new Ion Neos. Those things look real nice.
I do keep thinking about it. I'm like, maybe when I get some, maybe when my wife gets her first paycheck from her new job, I'm like, hey, get me this. That'll be nice.
I messaged their press saying, hey, I'd like to review it. I do that with everyone though. You rarely ever hear back.
Yes, I've asked them before. Yeah, they haven't gotten back to me.
We're not Linus Tech Tips. We don't get one early.
Exactly. Would you get a second Steam Deck if it were themed? Yes, I would. I've already been thinking. I'm like, man, I could get another Steam Deck because I have the middle model. I'll get that high-end model, have more storage, and it's like, and I just want to buy it because I just want to buy it. It's a sickness. I'm not saying that makes any sense to anybody, because it doesn't make sense to me, but that's just what I am.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep going here. John Cena is coming to PGA Tour 2K23 in April. This comes from Joseph Yadin at GameSpot. Golf Simulator PGA Tour 2K23 will get a free update on April 7th, 2023, featuring WWE superstar John Cena as a playable character. Cena will sport his famous red, white, and blue colors as part of his in-game attire and will be playable locally and online. The update will also feature additional content, including former number 1 Nelly Corrada as a playable character and some other playable characters. This is fun. I always am like, oh yeah, 2K. That's just like they do the WWE games. They got some of this other stuff. It's cool to do crossovers. And for some reason, I'm a little bit excited about this. I have no idea why. I just like the idea of John Cena golfing.
I'm hoping they give him custom animations where you see this, he's very big, he's very muscular, so he's not going to be as lithe and smooth, probably. You can see, I want to see that Hulk just freaking swing,
right?
With all
it should be like it should be the most powerful swing in the game, but it should have like a skinny line that you have to keep it in, which is like how I think how the 2K swing mechanics work, which is like it's the right stick, sort of like a trackball sort of thing. And it's like, okay, no, if you get it, if you do a perfect swing with the right timing, and you keep it right in that very skinny line where it's like, okay, it's good, then it just goes 400 yards every time. I'm like, okay, that'd be cool. But if you go outside of there, it just shanks immediately. It's just going off to the side. That should be John Cena. Just all power, all Marine, the star of the movie Marine, just out there golfing.
You know what would be good?
Yeah.
If they did that, you play WWE, the mode with him. I forget the name of it, where they go through his career and it's all his.
It's called Superstar Mode or something like that, or Showcase.
Yeah, I think it's Showcase. If they could do that, but just fake him having a bunch of one-on-one golf matches with people in that same over-the-top dramatic style, that would be fun. I would like that quite a bit.
I would like that too.
Too much work.
Yes, that would be very cool. All right, just keep moving along here. Comparing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom's map to Breath of the Wild has sparked juicy fan theories. This comes from Patricia Hernandez at Kotaku. One of the biggest gripes people are saying about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom regards Nintendo's decision to revisit the same location, especially given the limitations of the Switch. The fear is that we're going to get a very incremental follow-up to one of the best games of all time, but the fact that it's still set in the same Hyrule as before does have one benefit. We can compare and contrast to see what has changed. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom producer Eiji Aonuma revealed 10 brand new minutes of footage in late March, which IGN examines in closer detail. They actually went ahead and found Breath of the Wild versions of many of the same locales featured in the new gameplay, which makes it easy to see what's different now. The most obvious thing you'll note right away is an improvement in graphics. Hyrule's landscape is less sparse now, which fans noted earlier in the year, but you can see some polish on the finer details as well. Colors pop way more than before, allowing things like, I wanted to say collars pop, which of course I'm a pop collar guy, but allowing things like grass to have more of a lush painterly feel. As one YouTuber commenter points out, there appears to be fewer destroyed guardians hanging about and fewer towers as well, which definitely raises questions. The most intriguing theory is about perhaps Hyrule has somehow lost some of its technological advancements, which were already starting to break down in the first game. Breath of the Wild's true ending tells us that one of the divine beasts, that when the divine beasts stop functioning, and another commenter points out that Zelda's official artwork sees her holding something that isn't the Sheikah Slate. Both of these details could point towards some sort of tech alteration in the world. Apparently, the most common theories going around people have is that there's some time travel stuff happening, which is like, okay, it's the Zelda series that's happened before. So maybe you are going back in time to an earlier time. I think Nintendo has confirmed that this is a sequel, but a lot of people have assumed for a long time that it's a prequel. And it's like, actually, maybe both is happening at the same time. You played some Breath of the Wild, right? But
I beat the whole thing. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I just teased you and your server about it occasionally.
Right? How dare
people
you?
got very mad because
I'm very sensitive about my Breath of the Wild.
I'm going to say this. Tears of the Kingdom looks really fun.
I'm very excited to play it. It looks pretty wild. They're really leaning into the stuff that I want, so I'm very happy.
So the gameplay, the frame rate looks really good. The gameplay looks super fun. The world looks good. That resolution looks real bad. So I am very excited to play it after dumping my legally obtained copy of the game onto PC. Because then it's going to look unbelievable.
Yes.
That game at 4K 60 or 4K 120, because it's actually at 60, so I bet you they can go higher this time, is going to be one of the best looking things ever.
There's also the potential here that this is like a whole sort of other universe version, like a dark world sort of thing, because like this people are like looking in the location where the Deku tree would have been noticeable and the Deku tree's not there. Thank you for my other sandwich, kiddo. And it's like, man, that doesn't really make sense. Even if it does go back in time, they'd have to go way back in time for the Deku tree not to be there. So it's, I'm not like a super Zelda lore guy, but I am at a point where I'm like very much enjoying people speculating about this stuff to see what people think. And to me, this feels like they are setting up a game where we are all going into it for the most part saying, same map, how different can it be? And they're going to be like, just fucking hold my beer and watch, motherfucker, because it's going to be, I think they're going to play with our expectations. Does it feel that way to you?
Oh, yeah. It's been, 6 years? It's been a long time. Like, people are wondering, why is it taking so long if it's the same map? Well, it's because, obviously, they were spending a hell of a lot of time getting this fuse system and all these other different crazy things to work and make sure they don't break everything.
Right.
And also, I'd imagine if it is the same map, you can go in, you can tweak the ever-loving shit out of it as much as you want and do all these crazy things because you don't have to do all the groundwork. It's already there, and you're building on it, and you're tweaking it, and you're making it look and run better than it ever did before, outside of the resolution, which in handheld mode, I think will be fine.
Yes.
But I don't like handheld mode.
Yes.
I like screen, and it's going to be, thankfully, this is like, 24 inches, and if I'm streaming it, it won't be too bad, but you pop that sucker up to 60.
Oh, yeah.
65.
Yes. Honestly, I really enjoy the M cable thing for Switch on my TV, which like really kind of makes it look like everything's been up-res to 1440-ish. And it's
they got a really nice Samsung. They do those too. They've got a great chip.
The built-in upscaling stuff is usually pretty good on a Samsung. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I never really got what people are like, hey, it looks bad on my LG or whatever. I'm like, I'm playing on a 4K TV. It looks fine. And then I did move to an LG. I'm like, oh, okay. I kind of see what the upscaling here is not as good, or at least not in game mode, which would remove some of that stuff to avoid, latency and stuff like that.
But yeah, like so many different little things that they've probably added that we have no idea about is what I'm really, really excited to find early.
Oh, you still can't hear it? I'll try to fix it in a second, kiddo. All right, Street Fighter 6 tournament rule changes happen, and it has Hitbox users up in arms. This comes from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Ahead of the release of Street Fighter 6 in June, Capcom has outlined a rule change to leverless controllers that'll have a major impact on future Capcom Pro tournaments. Capcom's new rule says that if a player inputs up and down directions at the same time, then both inputs must either be maintained or rejected. The new rule, and this is a quote, the new rule we are putting forth below is designed to ensure all leverless controllers operate to a universal standard, regardless of make or model at Capcom-sanctioned events. With this in mind, we've decided to make the following change. If up and down directions are input at the same time, both inputs must be maintained or both inputs must be rejected. What this means is that Capcom is essentially leveling the playing field. Leverless controllers, which basically means like hitbox controllers for everybody that might be wondering. It's instead of having a joystick, which like you do your motion inputs, it just has buttons. So on a joystick, you can't do left and right at the same time or up and down at the same time, right? You'd have to do one or the other. On a hitbox, you could just hit the buttons for up and down at the same time. Some people they think this gives an advantage, and I think it's hard to argue that it wouldn't. But also, it's been kind of fair now for many years. This is the way a lot of people play these games now. Let's see what this means is that Capcom is essentially leveling the playing field. Leverless controllers, and especially those manufactured by Hitbox, give players a major advantage in matches allowing them to perform certain moves more quickly than competing players who use standard fighting sticks or controllers. This is just for Street Fighter, and it's just Capcom events, but that's also basically the sort of standard bearer for the fighting game scene, right? So Hitbox has come out and replied to this saying, hey, we're going to re-engineer and come up with a solution to make sure that our controllers are in compliance with this rule. I think they'll probably come up with something, but it's like, yeah, this could change the scene. I think like some like top players use hitboxes. I want to say, I'm not gonna be able to remember his name. The guy that was in that incredible moment with Justin Wong. Daigo, thank you. I think he's used a hitbox for years now. Thank you, Culver. Thank you, Jesse.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
So yeah, I mean, like it's like, man, I kind of want these guys to be able to use the controllers they want. So hopefully they come up with a solution. I think that it's smart for Capcom to like try to come up with a unified rule right now before this game is out, because I think the Street Fighter 6 competitive scene and fighting game scene is going to be massive. What do you think?
Agreed. I was in what the heck they call them, the closed betas. I think they were invite only. Really fun. I'm not normally a huge fighting game guy. It's just funny because I reviewed a couple now. I do think that especially when you want your competitions to be taken more seriously and you want them, like, things are starting to become Olympic sports, even though the Olympic sports for video games are wild with what they chose. I almost feel like a lot of money changed hands there. You need a good, clear set of rules that you make up ahead of time. And doing this before the game hits and I don't know that it's going to be enough time for Hitbox. It means a lot of people probably have to rebuy stuff unless they can go back and change firmware or whatever. I'm hoping it's not too messy with the timing, because I don't think Evo's that far away. Street Fighter 6 is not that far away. I guess we'll have to see how many other tournaments end up taking that same rule set on. Is this something that propagates its way, down the chain, essentially, with how big Street Fighter is? Probably. So,
right, exactly. I think that this will be sort of actually the rule that everyone adopts here very soon, almost certainly. But we'll see. We'll see what it means for Hitbox and going forward. I'm kind of interested to kind of keep my eye on the Street Fighter 6 fighting scene going forward, though, because it's I think it's going to be a very fun game to watch. All right, Shuhei Yoshida, excited to see what indies do with generative AI. This comes from James Batchelor at GamesIndustry.biz. Long-serving PlayStation executive and head of the Platform Holders Independent Developer Initiative, Shuhei Yoshida, is optimistic about the possibilities of generative AI, especially for indies. Earlier this week, James Batchelor said he spoke to Yoshida ahead of him picking up the BAFTA Fellowship Award. Well, while the conversation mainly focused on the future of indies and what PlayStation is doing to welcome more studios onto its platform, they also picked his brain on some of the trends and hot topics being discussed in the industry when it comes to generative AI, technology that enables developers to generate art assets, text, and more with a text prompt. Yoshida believes it opens up a lot of opportunities for smaller studios. I am so excited for what these tools can do, especially for smaller teams or even individuals, he told GamesIndustry.biz. This morning, I was taking pictures of student games in a competition I was judging, and one game created by a small number of students looked amazingly beautiful. They used a Midjourney to create the assets, so it's already happening. Those AI tools will be used in the future, not just for creating assets, but for animations, AI behavior, and even doing debug. So I'm excited about how game developers will make use of these tools to create some game experiences that were not possible in the past. So I'm a huge fan. I am in a place, Jesse, where it's like, man, I kind of want to just stand back and wait a little bit, because it's very easy to be like, oh, okay, we know this is bad. And yes, we can see many ways in which having new tools that eliminate the need to have more people involved is a scary thing, because it means fewer jobs, just point blank. But it's also, we've had things like this in gaming for a while. This is much more than just speed tree, right? This is much more than just you have a software that's actually created by a handful of people, quite a few people, that makes it easy to fill your world with trees or whatever, or to form form landscapes. But it's still in that same basic vein, where it's like, we are going to create tools to make it easy to generate assets. And that was a real pain and a real roadblock for a lot of people. So in my mind, no matter what, this stuff is coming. People are going to use this stuff. There is no putting that toothpaste back into the tube. And so it's like, I'm trying to also look at the bright side, where maybe we do get on the other side. And what this really means is, because this stuff is so easy, the people who would have been spending their time working on creating these assets can spend their time working on other assets that is actually still hard for AI to generate, and working on creating more detailed worlds, because the base function is already being done by AI. So we could kind of take games to the next level by using the same amount of people. I think that's hopeful and maybe too optimistic, but I'm trying to choose to be in this case, because otherwise it's, one person's able to make a complete game, they get all the money, and no one else has a job, so they can't even afford to buy that game. That's a kind of a grim outlook. I don't know. How do you feel about all this?
It's going to really come down to, I think, for people feeling good about it. I mean, for the most part, people are going to have no idea. But for us, more in the know, where is your stuff generated from? Are you actually crediting and paying people?
Yes.
Like there was a story I saw where Bing is going to start, they're going to potentially or supposedly start paying sources on their news and their AI generated stuff. I have no idea how that'll work, but I think that baseline needs to exist. It can't just be, well, we just scanned in a bunch of other people's work and now you can make something neat based on that, because that's the other side of it. Well, not outside of just, well, we don't need this big team. We can just have a couple of people touch up some AI generated stuff. And that AI generated stuff is all just made from a bunch of other people's work without their permission. Like it would be like if SpeedTree every once in a while just had Getty Images watermarked on one of their trees by mistake. Like it just.
Yes, that's where like this is still super messy. Where I mean, listen, I think the way that stuff works is the way a lot of human beings work, where it's like you see a lot of stuff, it inspires you. It's not the same thing. This is definitely just way too derivative of other people's hard work, and that needs to be solved. And there are models that people do where it's like, no, we have our own artists on staff, and we are building a library of resources that uses that stuff. And so, we're in the clear. It's like, yeah, I bet some companies might do it that way. Ubisoft says they're doing it that way. I don't think that's the way it's going to be done in the long run. It is going to just be this massive thing that's pulling from all these artists that you did not pay. But people in chat are saying, like, employers always take when they're given the choice of free up developers' time or employ less people, they always choose employ less people. And that's actually, I mean, in gaming at least, that's not always true. When things get easier to do, they don't suddenly just fire everyone that was doing that stuff before. They like, okay, we got to make the game even bigger. That's what scope. That's what scope creep is. That is like, we can do more now, so we're going to do more because we need to compete, and that game can be even bigger, and we can make even more money. So actually, like now, is it always going to work that way? And it hasn't always worked that way in every case. No, but for the most part, it's like if we make things easier, people are going to get bigger ideas and try. And it's not about like, oh, we can free up developers' time. It is not about freeing up developers' time. No. It is about saving money. But in the end, it's like, we also need to be competing with the Joneses and keeping up with them. And if their games are getting bigger because they're using a generative AI to do a lot of stuff, and then having thousands of people still do all these other things, well, we need to do that too. Now, again, it's a rosy outlook. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be perfect. It's going to be painful. We know this stuff is going to be painful. We know it is. And that's it's going to be a couple of years, maybe longer, where we are trying to figure out how we can coexist with these things. And the reality is many jobs won't be able to coexist with it, or will have to deeply, deeply change. And that is where it continues to be very scary for me. So, but I think this is right, that a lot of indies probably will use this stuff in some ways. I mean, just the idea of using Midjourney, it's like, man, that stuff is the absolute marquee for what you were saying of just like taking other people's work and readapting it and putting it through a few filters and then reusing it as your own. It's like, man, I really dislike that.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. Like when you're a small team and you're trying to hit that high quality look, like that's actually a big thing with us, is we're a very small team trying to almost trick people into thinking we're a big team with money behind us and stuff, when we don't have any of that. And so when you're making a game, so many people like, oh, if I'm going to spend $30 and this doesn't look good enough, even if the gameplay is great and your writing is great, well, you don't have very good voice acting. Well, if I can do some AI voice acting that's passable, what voices are those made off of? Am I working with an ethical company? I don't know. You never actually freaking know in the end. It's real hard to ever know exactly what it is you're buying like that. There was a story a month or two ago. The guy bought an art asset on Unreal that somebody had just ripped out of Dark Souls, and it was just a Dark Souls attack. He didn't know. and then everyone's going off and attacking him. He's like, God damn it! All I did was buy an art asset off the Unreal store.
Yep.
People will always take advantage of a new thing, and you will find people who will spend tons of time, and they'll make their Will Smith eating spaghetti videos that are absolutely horrifying. If you've seen that,
I think that's just beautiful. That's just art.
no,
I don't know what you're talking about.
that was one of the most painful. That the heebie and the jeebies rose through my entire body about 15 times over just in about 3 seconds of that clip. I was like, I hate this.
I didn't finish it either. I couldn't finish it. I had to turn it off. It was
it's so wrong.
It was true nightmare fuel.
You're gonna get people that should take advantage of it, that ruin it essentially, because it just happens every time.
Okay, let's we got a couple more stories here. Let's hit before we finish up today. Capcom is warning Resident Evil 4 players about a rare but critical progress bug. Excuse me. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. Capcom has warned Resident Evil 4 players about a newly uncovered progression blocking bug. The company said the rare but critical progress bug can occur when obtaining a specific key item after a cutscene at the beginning of Chapter 12. Their quote is, "Please refrain from attacking with the knife until the notification for obtaining this item is displayed in the upper right of the screen. After obtaining this key item, it will appear in the key items and treasure menu in the attaché case. If it has not appeared, please reload save data from before the start of Chapter 12. Basically, if you do this knife attack or do a couple weird things here, you could be stuck not being able to progress because it just won't show up in your inventory and you'll be pretty much screwed. They're going to work on they're going to work on an update for this, but at least they're already warning people about it. And it does seem pretty rare. It seems like most people aren't encountering it. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion details will be revealed in June. This is also from Tom Ivan. I know I'm excited about this one, actually. I'm like, hey, I thought it was...
They actually had time for this one instead of, about a year and a half or 2 years of actual dev work.
Exactly. They've taken their time on this, and I really want to see kind of what they do with new stuff in that world. CD Projekt Red has said it plans to reveal more Cyberpunk 2077. Exciting news, Chooms. In June, we'll start to share more information about the Phantom Liberty expansion. Phantom Liberty is a spy thriller expansion for Cyberpunk 2077 set in an all-new district of Night City, according to CG Projekt Red. It will star Idris Elba as Solomon Reed, and Sasha Grey will also star in the DLC. She will voice Ash, a radio DJ in the in-game station 89.7 Growl FM. We've known about many of those details for a while. We haven't heard much else for a very long time, so it's like, okay, let's see what this is. This content will be hitting well after people have felt much better about Cyberpunk. So this is like the next and final chance to really relaunch this game into a much better state for the long term, right?
Yeah, and mixing this with they're doing a full path tracing update if you're one of those $6,000 4090 owners. I think that'll end up, if anything, Blade Runner, Jesus Christ. If anything, Cyberpunk.
That's all the same.
Yeah, pretty much. Cyberpunk with this expansion, with all the fixes it's gotten, with that path tracing update, will probably end up being like the graphical benchmark people use for quite a while for new hardware. So it's got that going for it. So when I reviewed it, I got to review it on the One X, which was the only place it kind of worked right. So I actually really enjoyed it, even though it was very obvious how much had been cut out.
That's a lie. Beginning. It worked great on Stadia.
Oh, okay. You know what? I wanted to try Stadia, but I'm nowhere near a Google data center, so I had a full 1.5 second latency.
That's incredible. That's actually incredible. It was
real bad. Like PlayStation Now, which is running on PlayStation 3 blades and stuff, worked beautifully because they were right there. But then Stadia ran like absolute dog crap. But I really enjoyed Cyberpunk. I know it's got major issues at launch, and they've been going through and trying to fix it, and some of their corporations are evil stuff in game felt a little tone deaf. The exploitation of trans people and whatnot, but as a whole, I really enjoyed the game. I'm very excited for this DLC, which I would probably, if depending on when it comes out, you can't do DLC early on console. So I'm gonna hope my computer can run this well, because you can do it on Steam. So.
Yes,
I'm excited.
I mean, by now the game's running much better on PC. That was one of those reviews where I wrote my 3 out of 5 review for that game, or whatever I ended up giving it. And it was I was like, yeah, pretty critical, and I pointed out a lot of its shortcomings. There's no way this is living up to what you thought. Even even in a bubble at launch here, it's mostly uninterested in stuff with a occasionally pretty good story and a world that looks good from a distance. And I think that's a fair assessment. And I kind of know it is, because over time, the sense I've gotten whenever I talk to the developers is like, yeah, we knew all that stuff. They're like, yeah.
They didn't get the time. Like people are like, oh, they announced it so long ago. Like, yeah, but they were working on The Witcher the whole time. They didn't actually get to work full bore on Cyberpunk until like a year and a half, 2 years before it came out. Like that game had so many more. You can just see it in the opening montage where it's just jumping, which actually looks incredible. The fact that it just keeps jumping from place to place like that in real time. But you're supposed to do all that. You're supposed to be able to have different outcomes for different missions and different people staying alive or different people dying. And that all just gets chopped. And it just becomes, well, this guy dies. That's it. Sorry. Or this thing happens and there's nothing you can do about it. And like you can see all the little snips and cuts and tears and little things they had to stitch back together to try and make their story work.
Yes.
And that can't be fixed easily. That's years of completely redoing everything, which they were never going to get.
Yep.
So they've gone and they've gotten all the bugs. Not all. They've gotten a lot of the bugs out. It runs way better. I have no idea how it runs on the old consoles. I imagine it still looks
probably
like
still rough.
Runs like crap there.
Still rough. That was always a poor decision. That was maybe not even a good business decision, but made by business people for sure.
One of the last third party exclusive limited edition consoles. That was actually a 1X, which you can't even play. You can't even play the DLC on that it came with. It came with the expansion pass for this DLC, but this DLC is not coming out on the last generation, so you can't actually play it.
Incredible stuff. All right, last story here. The second Vampire Survivors expansion has been revealed.
Ooh.
Our third story here from Tom Ivan at VGC. Pollllll has announced the second Vampire Survivors DLC pack. Like December's Legacy of the Moonspell expansion, the upcoming DLC will introduce new characters, a fresh stage, and additional weapons, among other features. It's called Tides of the Foscari. It's priced at $1.99. It will be released April 13th for Xbox, PC, and mobile. It includes 8 new characters, 13 new weapons, 1 new stage, 7 music tracks, and 20 new achievements. That's
I'm excited.
Best deal in gaming right there. Kind of can't beat that. $2 for more content for one of the best games of the last year or so. That's pretty good stuff.
Phil Spencer must have woken up very happy this morning because now he's got a reason. He got 1,000 in that, and he's in our Discord, so I can see what he's playing. And he's just always playing Vampire Survivors. He's just always playing it.
Out there just gaming. Out there doing the gaming. I love it. All right, let's see here. I'm going to... I had a little video for that, but I'm going to bring up the poll from yesterday. Let me do that real quick.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up the Will Smith spaghetti thing. I was like, no.
I will spare everyone the Will Smith spaghetti thing. I put it in chat, thing.
So yeah. They're not spared. I already showed it to him.
Let me see. Is this going to work? Let me do this real quick. See if I can get it there.
Vampire Survivors is super fun. I love that game.
All right, we're going to be on Mario here for a second, and then I'll go over there. There we go. Okay. Should Kirby have a speaking voice if he gets a movie? 34.4% said yes. 65.6% say no. I think that's probably right. I think a lot of the other characters should get voices. Kirby should just be like in the whole anime. There's more than 100 episodes of that anime, and he just goes Kupo the whole time or whatever he says, and then other people basically translate for him. And yeah, he can maybe say
like
hi.
A vacuum?
And he sounds like a vacuum. He sounds like a Hoover. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm but if he did have a voice, who should do the voice for him?
Chris Pratt.
I think Idris Elba should do it. That's what I'm saying.
No, Gina Carano. No, never mind.
All right. So that's the poll from yesterday. I'm gonna do another poll. Although I think I should have a show Monday. I'm gonna be traveling a lot in the next week or so. So the schedule going forward is gonna be pretty spotty. Everybody, just sorry for that in advance. But I'll come up with a new poll question right now. While I'm doing that, Jesse, why don't you tell people where they can find you and all that stuff?
You can find me at xboxera.com. We might have an Xbox in the name, but as I always say every time I'm on here, we love everyone. We've got a community Discord now, discord.gg/xboxera if you want to join. It's been pretty good so far. Jeff Grubb's in there. So is Mike Minotti. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
xboxera.com, youtube.com/xboxera. We just hit 18K subs, which feels real cool. But yes. And also we have a merch shop with a bunch of shirts that I always... there you go. I do reviews. See? So we made a review shirt.
That's awesome. I like that a lot.
We're very lucky to have an unbelievably talented artist work for free for us because none of us get paid. Named
volunteer video game websites. Shout outs to all of them. I used to work for one. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we started pushing that Patreon real hard now. So patreon.com/xboxera.
Show some support.
That's our main thing.
Help me come up with the answers to this. Who is the better golfer? I'm going to put John Cena. Paul Bearer. All right, and then who else should I put in here?
You know who looks like they would be a golfer?
Huh.
The mayor, Kane. I bet you he golfs.
Yes, Kane. He does look like he'd be a golfer.
He looks like he'd be a dick while he's on the golf course too, just talking about politics all the time, libertarian shit.
And then let's see. I'm looking for other people.
Shane McMahon.
Okay, there you go. It shouldn't. Yes, it's Paul Bear. Or yes, listen, everybody. My brain doesn't work right now. Shane McMahon. Also, it was a joke when I said Idris Elbow. I misspoke earlier and said that, so I was just making a joke about that. That's all.
You're already canceled. Sorry.
Exactly. All right. All right. Who's the better golfer? John Cena, Paul Bear, Kane, or Shane McMahon? There you go. My vote's for Paul Bear, of course. Yeah.
I'm voting, even though he's not on there. I'm voting Gobbledygooker.
Yeah, the gobbledygooker. Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. We're gonna get back on Monday and answer that question here on Giant Bomb. And speaking of Giant Bomb, what do we have going on today? We will be doing a UPF later.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. Me and Jan are going to be running something, maybe some Fortnite, Unreal Engine for Fortnite stuff. That might be what we're doing. We'll figure it out. It's just us boys. Mom and Dad are out, so it's just the rascally sons running Giant Bomb. Everybody, look out! And then what else we got going on? I don't know. Mostly everyone should just have a good weekend. We'll be back with more stuff next week. Although I say that, it's, again, going to be pretty spotty in terms of the schedule. For example, like Voicemail Dump Truck, not going to be happening next Thursday. We will have it like Sunday-ish, because we're going to be doing a live one on Sunday next week. So look out for that. All right, Jesse, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games, man. I really appreciate it. It's good stuff.
Always fun being here. You're one of my favorite people.
All right. Thank you. Okay, apparently it's spelled like the animal. So I'm going to put it back there, and then I'm going to hit tweet. There we go. Everyone can go find that right now. And thank you all for watching. You're the best audience in gaming, even after I say Idris Elbow. So I always appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.